Hey, notice that the volume is better there? I'm playing around with some ffmpeg stuff. I'm going to share what I found, and I'm probably going to end up doing a short video series on just ffmpeg and maybe the command structure and individual commands, and then individual concepts such as filters and vaapi and stuff like that, streams, all that good stuff. But look forward to that. But for now, I'm just going to be sharing some of the stuff I've found that fixed the problems that I previously expressed that I was having with ffmpeg, and some cool stuff I've been experimenting with. Like, you might notice that I look a little bit different. Right now, I'm not displaying my image with MPV in a separate window. I'm actually layering it on top of the video with a filter through ffmpeg. And so let's talk about that. So this is the current script I am using to do this ffmpeg video, and you might remember that last time I expressed I was having problems with pulse audio taking up all my memory. But right now you'll see I'm using pulse audio, and you'll come over here and oh my, look at that, it's 2 gigs and it's staying there. And if you remember from last time, I said that I was having it go from 2 gigs up into infinity fairly quickly. So I remember last time I had to stop it at 6 gigs before, but now it's comfortably staying at 2 gigs. It just starts ffmpeg anytime I use Pulse with 2 gigs taken, and it just stays there. And that's only with Pulse. With Ulsa, it still takes barely any resources. And I'm just trying out Pulse right now because I am able to switch between microphone input for audio and desktop input for audio very easily through Pavu control. So that's the only reason I'm using Pulse right now. And with Ulsa, I have to set up an entire server thing in my A-Sound config, and I just don't feel like doing that. So I'm just taking the 2 gig hit right now and not worrying too much about it. So for my script, you'll see that I have the dash wide. I just overrides any video file name with the same name as what I'm trying to output here. I've moved probe size to the start of my commands instead of before the video frames, and that's just because I've been learning more about ffmpeg, and probe size is a global command, so I've moved it here to the beginning. Instead of just letting ffmpeg choose whatever amount of threads for anything at once, I've gone and defined 1 thread for videos, for the video streams, because I only have 1 video stream, 1 thread for the audio streams, because I've only had 1 audio stream, and 1 thread for filters because I only have 1 filter. And you'll see here that it's not really hurting for more threads right now, so I feel like that's more than enough. And here I define the type of hardware acceleration I want to use, and it's going to be vaapi because I'm on AMD. I haven't really tried VDPAU yet, which I think is more for decoding than encoding, and it's more for NVIDIA than AMD. And I define my vaapi device and my output format to be vaapi, and then I tell it to use X11 grab. I still haven't gotten kernel mode setting to grab to work yet, so I'm just doing X11 grab. And the problem I was having before with Pulse seems to have been I was using thread queues incorrectly. Before, I thought the thread queues had to precede the input because it's 1 thread queue per 1 input. But now I know that you have to use it right after any -F command, I believe. So instead of before the -I have it after the -F, and that seems to have fixed my memory problem. Originally, I thought it might be something to do with just how ffmpeg was handling my graphics drivers, or how ffmpeg was handling and loading MPV. Because if I started MPV after starting ffmpeg before, it didn't didn't run my memory out into infinity with Pulse, but it seems to have really stabilized when I switched the thread queues to before the -F commands. So here I have one thread queue set to 512 for my X11 grab, and I am overlaying my webcam with my X11 grab video here, so I have a thread queue for my video for Linux 2 input for my webcam, and then just I set it to 30 frames and 320 by 240, and then I have a thread queue here for my Pulse sound input. I'm setting the audio channel number to 2 for stereo audio, and it's just using the default. I'm not sure what the difference between video filters, audio filters, and complex filters are yet, but like I said, I plan to do an ffmpeg video about just general semantics of the commands and the concepts in general later, so I'll probably have that in there. And I've added the ZMQ library, the 0MQ library, for being able to switch inputs on the fly. And if you see me coming over here, I'll go to my local bin, and I've just copied this script over from the ffmpeg I'm using right now. They have a test in there. I couldn't get the C version to compile correctly yet, but just using the Python script, if I do something like send it parsed overlay, and then the overlay number I'm using is 0, and I can change the X value to something like 0, and you see there it succeeded. And if I change the Y value to something like 0, I'm sure you guys were able to see that better than I am now. My video camera should be up here directly in the corner instead of down here in the corner, respecting gaps. And that's just because I'm using the 0MQ library to be able to change things on the fly while the stream is running. And that would be useful for something like having an overlay for a podcast, or an overlay for streaming video games. And I'll probably work with that later in a video. I'll talk about just different ways to work with the ZMQ. But all you really need right now is to compile your ffmpeg with ZMQ on, or just download, if you're on Arch, the ffmpeg full, or ffmpeg AMD full if you're on AMD, because removing the NVIDIA stuff can apparently increase performance on AMD. And you'll see I'm still using the HVC vaapi, or the H250 or 265 video codec, and I'm using still the ffmpeg AAC audio codec that's included, the free one, and to try to make it closer to quality with the non-free version, I'm using strict-2, which gives me the experimental version of the strict. And then with the A coder, I'm using 0, which if you come over here, you'll see that A coder 0 gives me ANMR method versus the default, which is the 2-loop method, default, which is the fast method, or the 2-loop method. And in my personal testing, I found the ANMR method to give the best results. Hopefully you guys can hear that my audio is currently better than it previously was. And you'll see that I haven't really changed anything else besides how I'm overlaying the video and just moving some stuff around. So hopefully I'll have a video about that soon, each individual concept, and about more commands of how to overlay stuff. You'll see here the format's NV12. That's just because I'm using vaapi, and NV12 is the format that your hardware expects, or as so much as I've read. And I'm outputting it to an MP4, and that's mostly for uploading to YouTube, and because I'm using the H265 video codec. So that's my current setup with ffmpeg, with AMD, thread queues, and different threads for each subject, overlaying my webcam with software as opposed to just having it floating around in MPV, and using the built-in AAC. So hopefully you guys found that helpful.